Someone crossed a finish line today. They didn't win a prize, no trophy, no money. They just got a personal best on a morning run, and for the next few hours they felt like a different person. That feeling has a name, and it's older than language. Somewhere in your brain, right now, there's a system running quietly in the background. It's not thinking, it's not planning, it's tracking every small competition, every comparison. Every moment where you came out ahead or didn't. This system predates modern humans, it predates civilization, it might predate conscious thought itself, and it has shaped almost every decision you've ever made. In 1954, James Olds and Peter Milner at McGill University accidentally discovered something that would change neuroscience forever. They were implanting electrodes into rat brains, standard research at the time, but they placed one electrode slightly off target, into a region they hadn't meant to stimulate. When they ran a current through it, the rat didn't flinch, it didn't run, it just paused. Then it kept coming back to the same corner of the cage, over and over. They'd stumbled onto the brain's reward circuit, the nucleus accumbens, the dopamine pathway. Later experiments showed rats would press a lever 10,000 times in a single hour just to stimulate it. They would ignore food, ignore water. Press the lever until they collapsed. That circuit is in your brain too. The architecture is almost identical. But here's what most people get wrong about dopamine. It's not the pleasure chemical. That's a misreading of the science that's been passed around for decades. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan spent years separating two systems that most people assume are the same. He called them wanting and liking. Dopamine drives the wanting, the hunger, the chase, the anticipation. A completely different system, opioid receptors, mostly handles the actual pleasure once you get there, and the wanting system is far more powerful. In his experiments, Berridge found that animals with their dopamine systems chemically blocked would still show signs of pleasure when given sugar, but they would never go looking for it. No drive, no pursuit, just nothing. Remove the liking system though. The animal would chase obsessively, work furiously, and then win and feel nothing. Sound familiar? Winning, specifically the act of competing and prevailing, activates that dopamine wanting circuit more intensely than almost anything else we've found. Not because of what you get, but because of the structure of the event itself. There's uncertainty, there's effort, there's a clear outcome, and your brain treats that combination like rocket fuel. A 2017 study published in Nature Neuroscience by researchers including Now Inoue and Halen, who found something quietly stunning. They looked at what happened neurologically in mice immediately after a victory in a dominance contest, even a small one, even one that meant nothing in the real world. The activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with decision-making and self-perception, changed. Winning literally altered how the brain processed future challenges. Not just in that moment, the effect lasted. They called it the winner effect, and it compounds. If you've ever noticed that winning once makes it easier to win again, that's not confidence. Not exactly. It's neurochemistry, the testosterone spike that follows victory. Documented across species from lizards to chess players, increases risk tolerance, aggression, and competitive drive. Endocrinologist Alan Mazur at Syracuse University tracked this in humans across the 1980s and 90 seconds. Tennis players, wrestlers, even medical students after exams win and your testosterone rises. Higher testosterone makes you more likely to compete again, more likely to take risks, more likely to win. The cycle feeds itself. And on the other side, losing suppresses it, not permanently, but enough to matter. If this kind of thing makes you see your own behavior differently, you know where the subscribe button is. But here's the thing that makes this stranger. You don't even need to beat another person. A 2011 study from researchers at the University of Michigan found that people experience the same neural reward signature from beating their own previous performance as from beating someone else's. The brain, apparently, doesn't care much about the scoreboard. It cares about the structure, effort, uncertainty, resolution, which explains why solo runners cry at finish lines, why people feel devastated when they lose at solitaire, why you feel a small embarrassing rush when your commute time is 3 minutes faster than yesterday. You weren't competing with anyone, but your brain was still keeping score. There's a harder question underneath all of this. If winning feels this good, chemically and neurologically, what does that do to us over a lifetime? Researchers at Stanford studying competitive environments found that sustained, high-stakes competition changes not just behavior but identity. People start defining themselves by outcomes, not effort, not character, outcomes. Psychologist Carol Dweck's work on what she calls a fixed mindset, published across decades of research from the 1980s onward, shows exactly where this leads. When your sense of self becomes tied to winning, losing stops being information, it becomes threat. The brain that was built to chase reward starts treating failure as danger, and danger triggers an entirely different circuit: cortisol, avoidance, shutdown. The same system that was supposed to drive you starts protecting you from ever trying again. There's a species of cichlid fish, Astatotolapia burtoni, that researchers at Stanford have used for decades to study social dominance. When a male loses its dominant status in a group, the neurons that produce GR, the hormone that controls reproductive and competitive drive, literally shrink, not metaphorically. The cells get physically smaller. And when that same fish wins back its position, they grow again. The brain is not fixed. Status changes it structurally. We are not so different. The studies on human cortisol, testosterone, and dopamine across competitive contexts tell a broadly similar story. Your biology responds to your social position, deeply, physically. So why do we love winning? Because we were built to. Because the ancestor who didn't care about winning didn't fight for food, didn't compete for shelter, didn't push to be remembered, often didn't survive long enough to pass anything down. Caring about winning wasn't vanity, it was infrastructure. The problem is that infrastructure was built for a world that no longer exists. Now, we carry a competitive drive designed for survival into offices, comment sections, and fantasy sports leagues. The chemistry is the same. The stakes are not, and that gap between what the system was built for and what we're pointing it at is something most of us never stop to examine. We just keep pressing the lever, wondering why nothing feels like enough.